Listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. You will have time to read the instructions and questions and you will be given time to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts.
Now turn to part 1.
First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10.
Hello, Riverside Golf Club. How can I help you?
Hello, I'm interested in enrolling my son for tennis lessons and I'd like some information about what you offer.
Certainly, sir. What's your son's name?
Joe Barnes.
And how old is he?
He's 11 now and he will be 12 in 3 weeks.
Well, we offer lessons for children from age 10 upwards. Joe will be in the junior class. That's for young players from 10 to 13.
Great, how many players are there in a class?
We open a new class with at least 3 students and usually set the limit at 8 per class. Sometimes, especially in summer, if we have a larger class, we will divide it into 2. But we try to avoid doing that, as we like players to have as much contact as possible with all the coaches.
Right, and how long is each lesson?
Each lesson lasts 1 hour.
And you said there's more than one coach?
Yes, there are 3. The head coach is Adrian Miles. He's got a diploma in sports science, and he's a very experienced coach. He's worked all over the world. His assistant is Tom Peters. He's a very good player. He's been on the national team and won several championships. And last but not least, there's Kathy Davis. She's a former professional player who retired last year.
That sounds like a very good team.
I think they are. But they're not the only people involved in training the players. We also have a psychologist. His name's Tom Black. He's a former player himself, and he works with the head coach to help the players develop their mental skills.
That sounds interesting. And how much are the lessons?
Well, to join the club, you have to pay an annual membership fee. That's £250 for adults and £200 for children under 16. It's a family club, so if both parents are members, all their children can have lessons for free.
Oh, that sounds like a good deal. I'm not sure if I'll join, but I'll discuss it with my wife and get back to you.
Sure. You can come along and have a look at the club anytime. We're open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, including weekends.
Thanks. I'll come in this afternoon.
Sure. You're always welcome here. Oh, before you go, I should tell you about the club's facilities. We have 2 indoor courts and 4 outdoor courts. The indoor ones are open all year round, and the outdoor ones are only open from May to September.
Right, and is there a cafe or restaurant?
There's a restaurant, which is open all day, and there's also a cafe, but that's only open in the evening. The cafe has a good selection of drinks and snacks, but the restaurant is more substantial, with main dishes and desserts.
Great. Are there any other facilities?
Yes, there's a gym and a sauna, which are both open all year round. The gym is very well equipped, with all the latest equipment, and the sauna is a great place to relax after a game of tennis.
That sounds great. I'm really looking forward to coming along and having a look around the club.
I'm sure you'll like it. We have a great atmosphere here, and everyone is very friendly and welcoming.
Great. I'll definitely come in this afternoon and have a look around.
I'll be here all day, so just ask for me when you arrive. I'll be happy to show you around and answer any questions you have.
Thanks. I'll see you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That is the end of part 1. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 2. Part 2.
You will hear the speaker discusses the benefits of working from home, including improved work-life balance, reduced stress, and increased productivity, while also highlighting the challenges of isolation and the need for self-discipline. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 11 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20.
Good morning. I'm here today to talk to you about working from home. This is something that some people do full-time, while others, including many office workers, now spend at least some of their working week away from their normal place of work. In fact, some people believe that, in the future, the majority of office workers may be based at home. There are certainly many advantages of working from home. One of the main ones is that it allows employees to have a better work-life balance. This is because it allows people to work more flexible hours. For instance, they can start earlier or finish later if they want to, or they can take a longer break in the middle of the day to do something with their family. This is particularly important for parents with young children. Another advantage of working from home is that it allows people to avoid the daily commute. This can be a very stressful experience. For example, in some cities, workers spend hours each day travelling to and from their place of work. So, by working from home, they can save a lot of time and money and avoid the stress of travel. Another benefit of working from home is that it allows employees to create a comfortable working environment. For instance, they can choose their own chair and desk and decorate their workspace in a way that suits them. This can make people feel more relaxed and comfortable and therefore able to concentrate better. In fact, studies have shown that people are more productive when they work from home. This is partly because they don't get disturbed by colleagues, which often happens in an office environment. Also, people who work from home tend to take fewer days off sick. However, there are some disadvantages of working from home. One of the main ones is that people can feel isolated. This is because they don't have the same social interaction with colleagues that they would have in the office. This can lead to feelings of loneliness and depression. Also, people who work from home can find it difficult to separate their work and home lives. This is because they are in the same place all the time, so it can be hard to switch off from work at the end of the day. Another disadvantage of working from home is that people can find it difficult to stay motivated. This is because there are often more distractions at home than in the office. For example, people might be tempted to watch TV or do household chores instead of working. This means that people who work from home need to be very self-disciplined. So, how can people who work from home overcome these challenges? Well, one way is to create a dedicated workspace. This could be a separate room in the house, or just a specific area of a room. It's important that this space is used only for work, and that it is kept tidy and organised. This can help people to stay focused and motivated. Another way to overcome the challenges of working from home is to set a routine. This means getting up at the same time each day, and starting and finishing work at the same time. It's also important to take regular breaks and to make sure that you have a proper lunch break. Finally, it's important to stay in touch with colleagues. This can be done through regular phone calls, video calls, or emails. It's also a good idea to arrange to meet up with colleagues in person from time to time if possible. In conclusion, working from home has both advantages and disadvantages. However, by creating a dedicated workspace, setting a routine, and staying in touch with colleagues, people can overcome the challenges and enjoy the benefits of working from home.
That is the end of part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 2.
Part 3.
You will hear 2 students, Harry and Andrea, discuss the challenges of their drama course. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 30.
So, Andrea, we have to do a short summary of our work experience on a farm.
Right. My work experience was a real eye-opener. I shadowed a vet, and I saw how hard it is to care for sick animals. It was much more demanding than I expected.
I had the same experience. I was amazed by the strength of the farm workers. I found it physically demanding, and it was so hard getting up at 4 a.m.
Yes, I was always exhausted by the end of the day, and I had no idea how many skills you need on a farm. I thought it was just manual work, but it's really hard to do well.
Yes, because you have to have a lot of technical knowledge and there's so much to do on a farm. I'm not sure I'd want to work on a farm.
I think I might. It feels so worthwhile.
Well, I wouldn't want to be a farmer, but I'd like to be a vet. I think that would be really rewarding. Anyway, we've got to write about our work experience in the assignment. How many words?
I think it's 1,500, but I'm not sure how we should structure it. We should ask the tutor in tomorrow's class.
Yes, I'll email him tonight.
Okay, and now we've got to prepare for the drama workshop next week. We've each got to choose a skill to demonstrate.
Yes. Last year I did something on physical comedy. I think I'll write a play. I'm interested in the history of the theatre and I've got lots of ideas for a play.
Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
I'm sure you have. I'm going to do mine on using puppets to tell a story.
That sounds like fun. I've never worked with puppets before.
I have. I'm sure you'd like it. I've still got to do a presentation on a video. I've got to watch a short film and then give a presentation about it in class.
I've already done that. I watched a film about a girl who goes back to her hometown after her mother dies. She's been away for 10 years and she's really changed. She's a very different person from the girl who left home.
That sounds interesting. I've chosen a film about a boy who's in a wheelchair and he keeps a diary about his life. He's a very good writer and he's a really interesting character.
I'd like to see it. I've got to write a report on a play. I've already seen the play, but I haven't written the report yet.
I've done that. I'm just finishing a short film I've been making with some friends. We've been filming for a few weeks now. It's about a boy who's in a rock band. He's a talented singer, but he's not very good at playing the guitar. He has to practice every day, and it's really hard work.
That sounds interesting. I've got to give a presentation on a theatre. I've chosen the Globe Theatre in London because I've been there a few times. It's a very famous theatre and I know a lot about it.
I've chosen the Royal Exchange Theatre in Manchester. It's a very unusual building and it's got a lot of history. I've been there a few times and I really like it.
I've got to design a set for a play. I'm not very good at drawing, but I've got a lot of ideas.
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3.
Part 4.
You will hear a lecture about the Australian accent, its unique features. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today, I'm going to talk about the development of the Australian accent, and to illustrate aspects of this development, I'll use a few lines from the famous poem The Man from Snowy River by Banjo Paterson. The most commonly held view about the Australian accent is that it developed from the mixing of different accents in the early years of the British colony in Australia. The colony was established in 1788 with the arrival of settlers from what is now the southeast of the UK, and the accent was based on the speech of these settlers. Within a generation, this original British accent had started to change, and by the 1820s, visitors to the colony were beginning to notice that native-born white Australians spoke with a different accent. The most distinctive feature of this new accent was its vowel sounds. One aspect of this was vowel length, which was longer in words like beat and bat than in the original accent. Another was vowel shift, which meant that some words with a vowel sound like I in the original accent had a vowel sound like oi in the Australian accent. This was the case with the word time, for example. The vowel shift also affected the pronunciation of the vowel sound a. In the original accent, this was pronounced as a in words like cat, but in the new Australian accent, it was pronounced as ai in words like bye, for example. The Australian accent also had a distinctive intonation pattern. This was based on the intonation pattern used for asking questions in the original accent, where the pitch of the voice rises at the end of the question. In the Australian accent, this pattern was used for statements too, so that the pitch of the voice rose at the end of a statement, just as it did at the end of a question. The Australian accent had three main varieties: broad, general, and cultivated. The broad variety was the most distinctive and was used by working-class speakers. The cultivated variety was closest to British English and was used by the educated middle classes. The general variety was somewhere between these two and was the most widely used. By the 1850s, the broad variety had become associated with Australian national identity. This was partly because it was used by a number of national sporting heroes, and also because it was used in the lyrics of popular songs and bush ballads, like The Man from Snowy River. These ballads were recited at campfires and inns throughout Australia, and they helped to promote the broad variety of the Australian accent as a symbol of national identity. In the 1890s, a number of Australian writers began to promote the broad variety of the accent as a symbol of national identity too. They believed that the Australian accent was a reflection of the democratic principles on which the Australian nation was based. In their view, it was a social leveller, which helped to unite Australians by giving them all the same voice. The broad variety of the Australian accent was also used in a number of films in the early 20th century. These films were very popular, and they helped to establish the broad variety of the accent as a symbol of national identity, both within Australia and overseas. By the mid-20th century, the general variety of the Australian accent had become the most widely used variety, but the broad variety was still used in films and by national sporting heroes. It was also used in the lyrics of popular songs and by Australian prime ministers, all of whom helped to promote it as a symbol of national identity.
That is the end of part 4. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 4.
That is the end of the listening test.